Let's talk about the complexity trap. Complexity is created with the best of intentions, but often we create the beast that we become a slave to, right? In an attempt to move faster, somebody puts an extra step onto a process just to get it done, right? It's not malintent, it's just trying to get something moving. But the things that happen with complexity, the results are these kinds of things over time, right? It's like death by a thousand cuts. The first thing is if you're operating with complexity, your teams have less focus. They have less ability to focus on a task at hand, right? They get hijacked all the time. And a lot of that has to do with a cultural norm that we have to shift. And what I mean by that is, what we value is the volume of work, not the value of work. So for example, most companies, they promote people based on managing more products and services, bigger P&L, more people, right? More geographies, more. Very few organizations, though this is changing, Sanofi just initiated this, so did parts of Accenture, being able to reward people based on less. I don't mean doing less, I mean doing valuable. The second part of the trap, and this is where you got to think about your organization, is you have less agility. So if your company is operating with complexity, they can't move fast enough. And what I mean by agility, I mean being able to be proactive, not reactive. So one of the issues I noticed during COVID, and I have a hard time with agility, by the way, because so many people, we were told to be more agile and to pivot during COVID. Is anyone here sick of pivoting at all, right? If one more person tells me to pivot, you're allowed to like slap them. It's okay. The issue with being agile, I think during COVID was, it's like a game of dodgeball. Everyone was kind of waiting, right? They're agile so they can wait for the next thing to happen. Complexity is a defensive strategy. You are back on your heels and you are waiting for something to happen. Simplicity is an offensive strategy. You don't want to wait for change, you want to create it and put it on someone else. Simplicity puts you on offense. The last part of the complexity trap is changing this thing where we value doing over thinking. And this is probably the most important from a leadership perspective. I mean, just by show of hands, how many people would love to have more time to think every day? Everybody, right? I wish I had more time to think, right? With less context switching. And what's interesting is the people that work for you, they say they want more time to think, but what we are conditioned to do is do. So let me give you the metaphor. When you used to walk into people's physical offices, when that was a thing, if you saw somebody, because you wanted to ask them a question, you went to their office and they were just, staring out the window. And you said, "Oh, I'm sorry to bother you. Can I ask you a question?" And if they responded, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I was just thinking." What would be your natural response or your thought going through your head about that person? Get back to work, right? I wish I could just sit around all day and think like you. But what we want actually is to be able to create more space to think. Simplicity is important because right now we are valuing doing more than we realize over thinking. Yes, we want outcomes. I want my team doing things. I don't want them just sitting around all day. But the problem is they can't come up with anything new because I don't give them any time to think. Thinking has become a daring act. We don't allow people the space and time to do it. And we as leaders need to be able to carve that time out.